The caterhamracer.com Season 8 Championship is sponsored by Just Add Lightness, first for Caterham LED lights and in-car communication, and by Design and Display Structures, immerse yourself in worlds beyond with bespoke projection screens, and by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, and by 1-to-1, on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker. We are supported by Darren Burke Performance Driver Coach, and by FPZero Simulators.
8th season. It almost seems like yesterday that 2 years ago we did our first season, and it's grown into so much. We have so many amazing partners that we've thanked as well, and another top quality good of drivers that are looking to try and get themselves involved.
Yeah, good evening everybody, and welcome along to Season 8 of caterhamracer.com, the championship season. This is the exciting one, it's the big one, it's the one we kind of work towards for the year, isn't it? Like you say, it follows along with the main official Caterham Motorsport calendar. This is as close as we can get it to the real thing without spending the big bucks, although we have plenty of real racers out there tonight on the circuit who are practicing away for their new season. In fact, some of them, their season started last weekend. The Caterham graduates are out on track, and we've certainly got some of the graduates on board tonight, and they had pretty good success. But it's nice to be back, and it's good to hear you, Scott.
Yeah, likewise, and it's good to have another season get going. Of course, it's great that we finally got racing underway. I don't know about you guys, but both watching at home, and you, Chris, but this off-season felt longer than other ones, maybe because we were just coming out of the other side of the pandemic, and it was particularly cold and particularly wet. But now we're finally getting to the point where we're getting into spring, the sun's starting to break through now, and finally race cars are back on track for real, back at the traditional March starting spot, and COVID, hopefully, fingers crossed, is something of a touch wood thing of the past going forwards now. But as we are firmly into qualifying, it means that we do get to push on. So just whilst qualifying is going on, let's just talk you through how the schedule is looking for the Season 8 caterhamracer.com Championship season. It is a championship, which means there are points on offer towards the end of the year. So because we start here, then at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit, followed by Snetterton, which will take place at the 10th of May. Now, typically these are scheduled the Tuesday the week before the main Caterham Motorsport meeting takes place, so we'll have that in the mix. So Brands Hatch Indy starts here tonight, March 29th. Then we have 10th of May, where we have Snetterton 300 in there, which I think is a couple of weeks beforehand. And Caterham will be in the mix. They're competing. So there's a bit of a break there, but over a month or so before they get back running at Snetterton. Then there's one of the big centerpieces of the year, which is the Silverstone Grand Prix, and this is where we get to see them in a different car. And you'll note also as well there are in different cars alternated between 3 different models. So you've got the Caterham Academy cars tonight on the Brands Indy circuit, the Caterham 310R, which is one of the newest sort of in-between cars that we've been developing over the off-season and the past couple of knockout-style series that we've done. And then the Caterham 420R, which is, of course, the pinnacle of all the cars, and that's on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 7th of June. Then we get to just nearer towards the end of the month, where it's the Caterham Academy take their turn again. We're in those cars for Donington Park National. Then it's Anglesey International number 310Rs on the 2nd of August. Knock Hill for the Caterham 420Rs on the 6th of September. Although, unlike the real world calendar, we won't be going racing in one direction, one race, and then one direction, the other, the reverse direction, the other. It'll just be one direction for both. And then what a place to go as a drive. In fact, it was down to a driver's vote, and I'm not surprised that they picked this circuit out of the driver's vote, because on the 4th of October, where in the real life there'll be a split weekend. Some will be at Silverstone, but another contingent will be where the season finale is going to be for season 8, and that is the mighty Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. That is where the championship will be decided on the 4th of October. So, before we move on to that, just a quick shout out, of course, to our partners. Of course, DPR Motorsport, you can see display structures, just Add Lightness and 1-to-1. We're thankful to have 1-to-1 on board. Of course, that's looked after by Ryan Hooker, who is a Caterham racer for real. And as you saw in the advert, he does not only just driver coaching, not just at his own base, but also at his own premises, but also at the track as well. So he does bring like a mobile unit of sorts, and good to see Ryan, of course, in the mix, and hopefully starring at some point this year. But yes, amazing partners on board, an amazing season lined up, and I think the prospect of ending the season at Spa in October is pretty mouthwatering, Chris. I'm sure even you'd be tempted to have a go at that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to be out there, Scott. But if I had to hang up my racing overalls just for the time being. And yeah, just to give a shout out to Ryan Hooker. He was showing some incredible pace in pre-season testing. Unfortunately, he's a bit gutted he couldn't be with us tonight and out there racing his car around. But yeah, we're thankful to Ryan, 1-to-1, for all his support, design display structures, Just Add Lightness, DPR Motorsport. We can't do this without them. So yeah, they get our respect. And if you're looking on YouTube or on other socials, then make sure you click on their links, which will appear in the description, to go and see what they do or what they offer, and please do make use of their services. Yeah, also supported by Darren Burke, who I know works with a lot of the drivers, and also we've got FPZero Simulators back on board supporting us this season as well, and yeah, they do some really good one-stop shop simulator setup. So if you're sat here with nothing and no sort of simulator of your own, wondering how do you get involved in this kind of thing, then they offer some brilliant products, turnkey solutions for you to go and get involved. We got Christian Schroeter we're just concentrating on here right now. He's just set the fastest time of qualifying with 5 minutes of this session to go. He's had a 55.4, which is an incredible. It's quicker than he did in pre-qualifying, and I think that's about the fastest kind of time we're seeing. So he's definitely got the speed as ever where you might expect it. In second place, though, another incredible time, Jamie Peters-Ennis, absolutely stepping up. He's got a crowd of cars around him on the circuit at the moment. They're definitely having to vie for space, just like they do in real life. But Jamie up there in second place with another spectacular 55.499, only two 100ths of a second back. Then David Rowe, Christian and David have been sort of setting the pace recently, haven't they? And then Jamie Peters-Ennis is definitely getting involved with that. Richard Gallagher in fourth, and Skillicorn down there in fifth. Arnell doing another solid performance in sixth.
Say, now we're focusing on him, genuinely, that is kudos and hats off to Jamie. He's certainly been practicing in the sim to get himself up to speed, because to be second fastest, and he was in fact at one point for the first part of the session, he was on provisional pole position until Christian Schroeter popped in that 55.477 to go fastest. But even though he's only 22 thousandths of a second faster than James, that just shows how much he's really improved. As Freddie Chiddick, who is embarking on his second season of racing this year in the Caterham Motorsport Championship, he's just getting a little bit sideways out of there. He was battling for the Caterham Academy title last year with Jeff Newman, and he ended up runner-up spot. I know that weekend he was particularly gutted in some cases, because he literally lost the title practically on the last lap of the race on the sprint to a line, because Jeff Newman picked up the fastest lap of the race, and he needed that to take the title. He got it literally on the last lap of the season, and he snatched the title away out of Freddie Chiddick's hands, so he had to come as runner-up. But Freddie will lock corners with Jeff and others from the title this year, so he's one to watch in there. There's two newcomers who are to the A grid who are appearing, I believe, for the first time. This is the first of them, Max Haynes in the orange Caterham, currently 14th fastest. But what we should point out is the fact that it's the Brands Hatch Indy circuit we're on tonight, and just how close and competitive it is. It's probably the nature of the short sort of 1.3 mile circuit. He's probably playing into that, but the fact just how competitive it is. If you look at the spread of times between pole to 18th place, which is how many cars we have on the server, 0.641, 6.5 tenths across the 18 cars that we've got running. If that ain't competitive, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's superb, isn't it? And the same in pre-qualifying as well. Yeah, Max Haynes he's competing in the Caterham Graduates Series this year. He's just come back from Silverstone. A number of our drivers have with the Sigmax cars. He just took himself a couple of wins, so a great start to his season out at Silverstone, and now coming on to online to compete with some of these other drivers. And the other driver we've got new on, Ian Joyner. I'm not sure whether he's been on our A grids before, but he's not a racer in real life, but he's showing a good turn of pace in this Academy car around Brands Hatch tonight, and I know he's a sim racer at heart, so he's got some of that experience, but he's currently in 9th place, and that's definitely not shabby, is it?
No, definitely not. And this is what I love about the mix that we've got in here. We've got some of the real drivers in there with some who are primarily sim drivers. We've got 1 or 2 people like Richard Gallagher who don't race a Caterham, but they do have one in real life and they drive it on certain circuits. Here's Mitchell Costas, has been there for the last couple of knockout seasons. It's good to have him in for the championship, or at least for this first meeting. That's the beauty of this championship, is that what makes it a little bit, in some cases, a little bit unique, because yes, they're all in Caterhams, but you've got that mixture of people who are primarily sim drivers, people who, again, drive Caterhams on the road for fun, people who race them, whether it's in Caterham Graduates or Super 7 Series or Caterham Motorsport or Magnificent 7s or whatever Caterham or 7-based championship there is. But then we also talk about as well, to add on top of that, the fact that each season it keeps on getting closer and closer and more competitive throughout the field. And this is the perfect crescendo, particularly on this Indy circuit, which I'm sure is lending to some of it, but how much it is or not, to have the entire field covered by just under 6.5 tenths, primarily the first 15 cars covered by exactly half a second. I mean, I've seen it as close as that in real life Caterham racing, so and that's with everyone who's primarily there for the point of actually racing in real life. So to have such a diverse mixture of experience levels, whether it's real or sim or a combination of both, to be that close, you can't deny it. It's incredibly impressive to see them that close together.
Yeah, we absolutely love it, and like you say, it's just like it is in real life. Just seen Andrew Parker there setting a 55.7, and that's only good enough currently for 8th place, which just shows the pace of it. Yeah, the combination of real drivers and sim racing experts, and just it seems to lend itself. They have to fight pretty hard to get on this A grid, so we have pre-qualifying the day before we have these events to decide which grid that people will race on, and it's basically a glorified day-long qualifying session, so the server keeps track of their fastest laps throughout the whole day, and we determine the top 18 that come onto this A grid and have the the broadcast grid. But we've got another grid going on tonight in parallel, so that's going on in the background just as you get the checkered flag for this qualifying session. So we'll go down the list in a minute. But yeah, there's I think 15 drivers all vying for the sort of next 15 places. See Andrew Parker there abandoning that lap, but yeah, it's busy times, and it's not easy to get on this grid, and some of them really maximising.
Yeah, and plenty of familiar names that we've seen throughout the season. Of course, Mitchell Costas comes across the line, and how crazy is that? His best time, perhaps effectively, is his best time, it's about 55.9, 4 tenths off, and it's only good enough for 11th. So that's just how tight it's going to be around here. And I anticipate if they can, hopefully, get around the first few corners without mishap. Although, all due respect to these guys, sometimes it's not always that easy. Particularly on this short, narrow circuit like his Brands Hatch. It is a bit of a speed bowl, but there is a bit of a crescendo effect if someone messes up a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see how they pick up on this event. So as they come into the end of the first qualifying session, 2 15-minute races are coming up. The grid is set for the second one by the results from race 1. So Christian Zaruta then only on pole by just the merest margin of 22 1,000ths of a second from, I think that has to be his best qualifying effort ever since he started here. Second fastest on the front row for Jamie Peter-Zenith. He's got to be made up with that one. He's ahead of David Rowe, starts on the second row of the grid with Richard Gallagher alongside him. He's looking impressive in 4th. Chris Gillicorn back to some form. He starts 5th on the 3rd row alongside Steve Arnell. Then it's Jensen Hassler, the Dutchman, and then it's the Andrew Parker on the 4th row of the grid. And then it's Freddie Chiddicks, one of last year's Academy runner-up driver in real life, starting alongside one of our newcomers to the grid, Ian Joyner, who starts in 10th to round out the top 10. We've got to 11th place. That's Mitchell Costas from the Netherlands, and he's now going to start alongside Tom McEwing, who I believe is in the Academy this year, starting his racing career for real this year, so it's good to see him. Michael Coomber and Ben Maskell start on the 7th row of the grid. Then Max Haynes, our second newcomer, alongside John Lang, a bit further back than he'd like to be, even though he was only half a second off in 16th. And then long-standing veteran of caterhamracer.com, Paul Fernerhuff, will start on the back row of the grid alongside Mike Hilton. And we reiterate, looking at the gaps, everyone improved towards the end of that session. The entire grid covered by 0.541 of a second. I'm not sure if I'm excited or terrified for Paddock Hill Bend on this first start, Chris.
I think terrified is probably the best position to have, and we'll be otherwise proven wrong. But yes, as they're all lining up on the grid, let's get that set so we can see what's going on, and let's get into the action. But yeah, no, it's certainly going to be exciting, and we do, as ever, tell the drivers that we'd like them to be a little bit cautious into this first, the first set of corners. But Paddock's not an easy a corner to navigate, even on your own, let alone if you've got a kind of pack of three. But I'm excited. The Academy car brings really good racing, and I'm confident in them. Am I confident? I'm not sure. I'm just I don't know, Scott. I'm like you. I don't know what to expect.
I always make the joke with the Academy drivers in real life, if they ever have Brown Satch on their circuit, that I would love to see their faces when they go through the first proper flying competitive lap in a qualifying session into Paddock Hill Bend, or even just in a test session, because their eyes must be on absolute stalks when it happens. Because that's a corner that it is literally one of the best corners in the world, and it's a corner that if you get it right, you just hit the sweet spot. It's so satisfying. But you get it just a little bit wrong, and it is one of those corners where it will snap back and it will bite you hard. So it's got to be very careful. Big gravel trap on the left or not, it's a corner that has to be respected, and not necessarily feared, but at least respected and done proper. So we'll see how they tackle it in a moment then. So just quick colour check then. Christian Zaruta's in what I like to call the Brawn GP Special, which is white for the rest of yellow and black on the left hand side. The white car with the pride colours, that is Jamie Peters Ennis, and then it's David Rowe in the black and white cage with the green roll cage, and then Richard Gallagher, who is in almost like the lava coloured car, if you like, sort of metallic red with the orange striping. Chris Skillicorn's in the black car just at on the back on the third row towards the left, and then just behind him with the sort of mosaic car is Steve Arnell. So a new season of caterhamracer.com, all set to get underway at Brands Hatch. Race 1 of the season. Who will win the first whole shot down towards turn 1? The lights come up, and season 8 for Caterham Racer here at Brands Hatch begins any second now. We're underway. It's a bit of a clean start, little wiggle from the second row of the group from David Rowe, but he does get a good jump. But the top three slot into line as Stirs they head down towards Paddock for the first time, and immediately David Rowe goes on the offensive up the inside of the second place. And the top two already is Zaruta versus Rowe. Where have we seen this one before already, up towards Druid for the first time? Up into Druids, hold your breath. They're going to turn up to the right hander here. Now sometimes they get a little bit tricky on the exit, squeezing each other up towards Graham Hill Bend. Watch for any smoke in the background, down towards the hill. Still holding my breath a little bit, metaphorically. And then left David Rowe trying to get the switch back, but he's run wide on the exit. Let's Peter Ennis back through into second. Now as they come through, everyone appears to be trying to get through, and I'm not going to say it just yet, but as they come up through Surtees, through Clearways McLaren, and up through Clark Curve, Zaruta still leads it. Jamie Peters Ennis in second place, holding space. Oh, I was glad I didn't say it, because Richard Gallagher does get a little loose. I'm not sure if he was helped if he did it by himself, but apart from that, Chris, miracle of miracles, I think, bar a little spin for Richard Gallagher. Did my eyes deceive me? If they all got through turn 1 unscathed, the first lap unscathed, that never happens.
I can say Richard Gallagher's the only one that sort of lost out, and yes, you're right, it's got incredibly busy there. We've got David Rowe, after his off-track escapades, is still touching the gravel there, looking like he's dropped a little bit back. He's back in 4th place now. Christian Zaruta now got a little gap over Jamie Peters Ennis and Chris Skillicorn there in 3rd place. Unexpected, but they've done it. I told you, I said everything, didn't I, at the beginning, but I had a little bit of confidence at least, so I'll take that one, shall I? I think overall it just shows that yes, they can control these cars quite nicely. They've got a lot of experience out there on the track at the moment, and David Rowe now looking to get back up. He wasn't happy to sit in that second place, in the 3rd place when Jamie Peters Ennis overtook, so it looks like he is keen to get up there and get racing with Christian out front.
Yeah, well, at the moment, Christian's got about 8 tenths of a second lead. Now, remember we mentioned about the slipstream. In Assetto course, the sim that we use, the magic bet gap that you want to get a slipstream is within half a second. Because you start to get it as they bang wheels for 3rd place. They were trying to elbow Chris Skidder out the way. Out of it, Chris. I want to get back to P3. I've got a teammate to catch to come back up the hill. End of the second lap, couple of cars running wide over the curbs as they go side by side. But now, David Rowe's going to start to loom large in Jamie Peters Ennis' mirrors. He's done quite well so far to hold the tie back, and as he continues his efforts to try and close in, Jamie, all he's got to try and do now is trying to hold off David Rowe, but trying to do that is trying to hold off a raging bull with a post-it note. It's not really going to help too much, because you might not have that much of a defence. So he's going to try and put his car in all the wrong places and all the right times here to try and defend. He goes to the inside line of forces David Rowe to outbrake himself, and that position he took from Chris Skillicorn, he loses it, Now, as he tries to get back on the power, exiting through Clark Curve and onto the Jack Brabham straight, he's also under threat from Steve Arnell and from Andrew Parker. So I'm not quite sure if David Rowe's just getting out of sorts here and not in the rhythm, but he gets close to passing second place and all of a sudden backs off and he's back to where he started.
It's one of those things, if you get out of the rhythm, if you get offline, you get pushed to one side, you're not able to take your full racing line, it's very easy to lose some of that momentum, and once you've lost it, it's quite hard when these kind of tight battles. He dives back up the inside of Drew. It's a good old manoeuvre up there. Chris Gillicon sort of let him have that, and at this early stage, especially in a championship season, you don't want to cost yourself extra time that you know, and potentially damage to then lose out places and really important points. We do have drop scores like you do in the real world, so they can drop their 2 worst scores of the season, but nevertheless you want to start off on a good footing, and crashing out at this stage would not be a good thing.
Yeah, Andy Parker up to P5 now, got past Steve Arnell, so he's now going up into that top 5 spot. And all that battle that was going on between 3rd down to 6th, there's any benefits in Jamie Peters-Ennis, who, yes, okay, even he'll admit, doesn't have exactly the same race pace as Christian Zeruta does, who has now got the gap out to about 2.5 seconds. But he is now trying to push as hard as he can. He knows that if those 4 cars behind keep on scrapping amongst each other, it'll only benefit him to start racing up the road again and just maintaining the gap that he has. David Rowe now is in a bit of a catch-22 situation. He knows he's got to attack Jamie Peters-Ennis here for second, but he's under massive pressure again from Skillicorn, who throws it back up the inside, trying to get past the Graham Hill bend, but Rowe shuts the door firmly as they come out of the left-hander, now down the short Cooper straight towards Surtees once again. It's very fast left-hander that goes uphill and then into Clearways, McLaren, and then just at the top of the circuit, and coming out through Clark Curve again. Battle on for 6th position between Andrew Parker and Jensen Hassler, but just in front I could see David Rowe was finally up the inside of Jamie Peters-Ennis, and he was side by side. Peters-Ennis closes the door, it's firmly in his face and thinks, right, David Rowe tries to bump draft him down the straight, looks to the outside line, Jamie tries to squeeze him towards the edge of the circuit, which he's allowed to do, as long as he gives him enough room to get round the corner, that's okay. David Rowe takes the high, wide and handsome line round the outside of Druid, Paddock Hill bend, doesn't quite work, and Jamie, look at that, straight in the middle of the road to the bend. That's some really good defensive driving so far from Jamie, and David was very close to hitting the back here. And have to say, he might not have the ultimate pace, and that's not meant to be a negative at all, but fantastic defensive driving so far from Jamie, holding off the likes of David Rowe. He's doing all the right things. He's not blocking, he's not sort of purposely slowing up in corners. He's driving as hard as he can, but he's putting that car into positions which is preventing David from taking the advantage and getting through. So fair play to him. He's actually doing a grand job in second place and defending beautifully.
Yeah, towards the end of season 7 as well, we saw him. He gathered a turn of speed. He's obviously been putting the miles in on the simulator. He's always been very, a solid driver. But sometimes you just get that extra tenth, and it gives you extra tools that you can use. And you see David's using all the the space he's got, and maybe a little bit more. A couple of tickles on the rear end of that the panel of Jamie's car, and it's actually David. It looks like he's going to lose out. Brands Hatch is one of those tracks where you can actually defend quite nicely, as David's got to run around the outside, but he's not going to make that happen. Jamie will be able to go back and take his line down to Graham Hill. He's going to be able to cover that off as well. So I think it's all stations held at the moment. But yeah, Brands is one of those tracks you can defend at, and we see it in real life, and we're seeing it here replicated in the sim world.
Yeah, great stuff. As again, you just saw there that there was a point there just trying to go around the outside, and Jamie just took the natural racing line, and either that's just David losing his braking point a little bit, or just getting a bit frustrated, but he's just trying to essentially, because he knows that Christian's some 4 seconds up the road now, and of course he desperately needs to try and get past. We're coming up to the half distance already, because it's only the first of 2 shorter 15-minute races here tonight. And as they come back down the pit straight side by side, a little bit further back, that's Chiddix and McEwing having a scrap. They head back down towards turn 1, and Chiddix tries to force the issue, McEwing tries to defend it. There's a little bit of wheel banging again. They both drift out wide. This one now gives the advantage to Mitchell Costers and Richard Gallagher. Gallagher recovering after his spin earlier on. There is action everywhere you look in the field, towards the front, in the middle, and towards the back. They're 3 abreast behind. That was, I think, between John Lang, Ben Maskell and Paul Fernhoff, and that's only over 13th position. So all sorts going on here. But this is becoming typical Caterham racing now, because when you've got a group of cars, the next group starts to latch on, and that group gets bigger and bigger and bigger behind them as they start to gather in. So Christian Zeruta must be laughing in his, he's not wearing a helmet, but must be laughing in his sim. 5 seconds to good, and everyone else is clambering over the back of each other for second place. This is not meant as a negative. Jamie Peters-Ennis is doing a grand job defending at the moment. He's metaphorically the cork in the bottle, because everyone else is stacking up behind him, but he's driving his line, driving his own race, and to be fair to him, doing a grand job so far. As Skillicorn takes a crack and thinks, right, David, watch me here, see if I can do what you couldn't do. Into Paddock Hill bend again, side by side, and again Peters-Ennis holds on. And Steve Arnell, that's saving the season already on that one. How on earth he held that through Paddock Hill Bend, I probably will never know. That was unbelievable car control.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done, Steve. Yeah, that must have been a bit of a scary moment. Chris Skillicorn there out on the grass in their endeavours to try and get past this Jamie Peters-Ennis car. Another tap on the rear. So Jamie is going to be he has had a spin, so it was always going to boil over, and I think that's a real shame for everybody, and there'll be some sort of thoughts on that, I think, at the end of the race for sure. But there was that attitude of the race. It was really boiling over, wasn't it? And unfortunately, that does mean that Jamie Peters-Ennis is now finds himself down in 14th with it all to do. And I don't think that was anything of his fault. We will wait and see the race. But that means Jensen Hassler has moved through to second place. All of that has actually turned this race upside down. We got Jensen Hassler in second, got Andrew Parker in third, and Steve Arnell, after that amazing save, is in fourth.
And a king other ones. Well, David Rowe, who must have been caught up in that somewhere, down to 11th place. So, again, they're having a little bit of unfortunate David Rowe bad luck, which he tends to get sometimes, where he is doing that well, and then something, whether it's in his control or not, just comes around to hamper him, and that's when he loses a good position. So, David having to recover here back from 11th place. He's on the back of John Lang now, trying to get himself back into the top 10. But yeah, really hashed up around the top 10 positions towards the front. Zaruta still leads for the record by 5.5 seconds. We haven't really barely talked about him, apart from referencing the fact that he is in the lead by that far. But you're absolutely right. Jensen Hassler in the bright blue Caterham in second place. It's Andrew Parker in third. Steve Arnell fourth. Tom McEwen fifth. Andrew Costas in the green Caterham fifth. We're watching the battle for sixth. And Richard Gallagher here then could be getting himself up into the top six in a second if he can make the move on McEwen. If he does do that, that'll be an impressive comeback drive so far. It's still got 5.5 minutes to give himself even as high as possible in the top five. He's got McEwen and then Costas to get through. And to be fair, both Parker and Arnell aren't too far up the road either. Neither, to be fair, is Mitchell Costas. So if Gallagher can get on with this, which he's trying to do, he rubs wheels under brakes, a little bit of a lock-up into Druid. He runs a little deep into the exit the corner. McEwen says, thank you very much. Back in front he goes. And that's back where they started but it does this square one. McEwen's still in sixth, Gallagher in seventh, and Chiddix and Haynes closing in now in eighth and ninth.
Yeah, this is again, we always have battles all the way down the field. We just don't always have the field all on one straight, which is kind of what's going on at the moment. We have got Christian. We can see on the little map there that Christian's actually quite a long way ahead of everyone. He's got sort of half the straight in front of himself. We've got that's Max Haynes spinning. I've just missed that as I was looking at the track map there. But Max Haynes, again, what looked like it was going to be a good result, but he's now dropping behind Jamie Peterson. He's got another spin. That's Tom McEwen, I think, was in the middle and he got caught out. And Max Haynes got caught by Tom McEwen, who'd already had an accident, and that could see his car pretty poorly.
Yeah, there is some percentage of damage on these cars as well. So if you do make contact, it can cause damage to the engine or suspension or anything else at all. So unfortunately, those cars may well have suffered a little bit of incident damage, which might well have hampered them for the rest of the race for this first one at least. There's only 4 minutes to go or so. The order is sort of shuffled around a little bit more now because Hassler's still second, Arnell third, Parker fourth, Costas fifth. Gallagher now runs in sixth, and he is in that lead group in the red Caterham. There he is, just there in the background, just behind Mitchell Costas in the green car. And Chiddix is seventh place. David Rowe is back up to eighth after his part in the incident there. I think between Skillicorn and Peters-Ennis. And as for those two, Skillicorn back in 15th position. Peters-Ennis has got back up to 10th. So I think that Jamie's managed to recover from that better than Skillicorn did. As they now come out of Paddock Hill Bend and up the hill towards Druids, under the bridge, and under brakes. Through this 180-degree hairpin, slightly banked, or slightly on an angle through there, and then down the hill they go once again, and through Graham Hill Bend. And this was reprofiled about roughly 1997, 98 or so when they reprofiled it. It used to be called Bottom Bend, and of course Graham Hill Bend. It was one long sweeping curve that took them back into the slightly shorter Cooper Straight. But now it's a slightly tighter corner since about 98 or so, and then they managed to. It's been like that ever since. Just under 3 minutes to go now onto the pit straight, and Hassler now has got a 1.4 second advantage over Steve Arnell, who's holding on well to third place. Am I right in saying in these particular main races that Steve has never taken a podium? Am I right in saying that?
I'm not sure entirely. We've got so many seasons under our belt now. It's kind of hard to remember. I think he probably has been on the podium because he certainly deserves to be on a regular basis. He's very consistent, and while everyone else loses their head, Steve is one of those drivers who tends to keep his. So we saw him sticking it in there, and he's kept it clean. It was interesting you just mentioning the kind of sort of slightly off camber nature of a lot of these corners. Brands Hatch is famous. It's like there's Costas there on the grass, but Brands Hatch famous for its gradient, and all the corners are uphill, downhill, off camber, on camber. So it's all sorts of different. And Graham Hill is a real challenge now to try and get the car turned and stopped whilst the track is falling away from you all the time. It's a unique challenge, Brands Hatch, and it's a spectacular spectator track as well. We've seen, is that another spinner there? That I think that is Costas spinning after what looked like it was going to be a good result, but I think he's just cost himself.
You're waiting to pull that pun all night, weren't you, on that side? But unfortunately, Mitchell is now down to 11th place after that incident, so he's now having to try and fight back. Tom McEwen, we've got Haynes, McEwen and Joyner all in the pits after there. Ian Joyner was someone who had some problems earlier on and pitched the first couple of laps. Here's Chiddix and Rowe. David Rowe somehow is back up to 6th position now. He's gone round the outside of Chiddix, and despite the Caterham Academy vice champion in the green group last year trying to hold on, the DPR team boss makes up another spot. There's not long to go, only about a minute or so, so 6th I think is as high as he's going to rise unless anyone else hits trouble. And Peter Dennis, meanwhile, back up into 9th as a result of all that. So he's back into the top 10, so he should pick up a handful of points for his troubles despite doing so well defending 2nd place. Down to the pit straight now with about 50 seconds to go. I think we're going to get, depending on the gap, possibly this and maybe one more lap if Christian Zarita crosses the line quick enough with a couple of seconds to spare. So Rowe now trying to at least pull a gap and try and solidify 6th place. They come back to Planet Hill Bend. Chiddix there in 7th. John Lang's done pretty well. He's created another one. He's carved his way through all of the chaos around him to pick himself up from what was 16th or 17th on the grid up into 8th place. So good job from John. He's usually a little bit, when he first came in, he had a pretty decent initial turn of pace, but now he's started to settle in with some of these cars, and the competition's taken a bit of a step up. He's maybe lost a little bit of qualifying speed, but his race pace and consistency, and particularly keeping out of trouble, it's served him pretty well.
We saw him come good in season 7. He really took a step forward and was right up there battling, and we weren't on broadcast on season 7, so he missed out on some of that. So he has definitely taken a speed step forward, and I'm getting more used to seeing him right up there. In fact, I've seen him on the podium, so I think there's more to come. And like you say, he just didn't quite get it together in qualifying today, but has held it together in the race, and that's a fantastic skill. Christian did go over the line, so I think it's only fair that we do follow him on this final lap around in his glorious victory ways.
It's quite a speedball, Brands Hatch, and as we kind of predicted in many ways, his first race of the season has produced plenty of drama, but that's going to set the tone, hopefully not too much contact. All the battling that we've had, I'm sure we're in for another absolute blinder of a season, but a familiar face, a familiar car out in front, and he's going to start the season 8 in the best way possible. He nicked the fastest lap of the race, and now he's led practically from start to finish, lights to flag, and rightfully so. He will weave to the checkered flag in delight. Christian Zarita sweeps home to take victory in the first race of season 8 in caterhamracer.com. 2nd place, a very impressive run, keeping his cool whilst everyone else lost theirs were both Jensen Hassler and Steve Arnell, and Andy Parker and Richard Gallagher. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. David Rowe could have got himself as high as the lead, but he was stuck behind a rather defensive Jamie Peters Ennis. It's Rowe 6th, then Chiddix 7th, Lang 8th, recovering to 9th Jamie Peters Ennis, but he will feel a little bit hard done by, given he defended so well to hold on to 2nd place. Ben Maskell takes 10th, and then the rest of the field comes pouring through towards the end. So let's look at the result from race number 1, the first race of the season, and the first spoils of victory go to Christian Zarita. In some cases, who else? Because he really was the dominant force, taking pole position, leading every lap, and taking the fastest lap of the race. If he does that again in race 2, he will start season 8 with the Grand Slam. So Jensen Hassler, a very impressive 2nd place, maybe slightly unexpected, but he'll certainly take it with the points to go with it. Steve Arnell takes 3rd. It's Andrew Parker 4th, Richard Gallagher 5th, and David Rowe recovering after his part in that incident earlier on to take 6th. Freddie Chiddix 7th, John Lang 8th, Jamie Peters Ennis, who what he started impressively on the front row, was looking really strong for possibly defending hard for a podium or maybe at least the top 5, but he recovers well to get 9th. And Ben Maskell rounds out the first top 10 finishing positions of the season. Mitchell Costas takes 11th after his spin earlier on. Paul Fernhoff takes 12th. Mike Hilton rises well through some of the misfortunes as well as to take 13th. Then the drivers that hit trouble earlier throughout the race as well. Chris Skillicon 14th. Michael Coomber couldn't really get up to speed and he finished 15th. And then it's Max Haynes and Tom McEwen who collided on the run out of Clark Curve. And as for Ian Joyner, who's our other newbie alongside Max Haynes, just really didn't have the best race. He retired after about sort of 10 or so laps. He pissed a couple of times, and unfortunately his race ended at about half distance. Well, that was an energetic race start the season. Plenty of action as we anticipate in caterhamracer.com, but I think maybe a little bit more frantic maybe than in usual the past couple of seasons. And whether that's just an increase in the skill levels of everyone, or particularly just the fact that it's just the first, in this case for caterhamracer.com, first day back at school in inverted commas. But yeah, lots of frantic action. It was quite entertaining to watch, and hopefully those who watched it at home, Chris, enjoyed it as well. But that's in typical fashion a good way to start the season, and there's still one more of these coming up in a few moments' time.
Exactly. What more fun do you want? Well, let's go and do it all again and see whether they can hold it together. It definitely had that attitude, didn't it, of kind of beginning of the season, a bit desperate, especially for race 1. You've got to say there was some Jamie Peterson, I have to say, was not doing anything wrong out front there, but people were touching, you were bumping into him quite regularly, and that obviously slows everybody down and causes incidents. So unfortunately he was spun round, and he probably has a few grudges to bear coming through into this race too. But I'm confident that race 2, they maybe got some of those beginning nerves out, and some of that you're ready to sort of stick in for the long haul, because that's what we need right now to make sure those battles last. But yeah, the Academy car is we saw how close the times were. There's nothing to put between them all, and they decided they all wanted to be on the same bit of tarmac all at the same time.
Well, we try to do it again in a few moments' time. Impressive stuff from Christian. Just Christian doing Christian things, in terms of Christian Zaruta doing Christian Zaruta things, I should say, and just getting out there and dominating us. And yes, there was a benefit of the fact that everyone was stacking up behind Jamie, and he was doing his utmost to defend the position, which again, you should say, did absolutely nothing wrong at all. Was just defending his place as anyone else would. Wasn't weaving, wasn't blocking, wasn't sort of slowing up on the straights or anyway. He was simply just putting his car into all the places that was going to make it difficult for Rowe and Co to try and get through. And it's unfortunate there was the contact that there was. Now, typically in terms of his racecraft, he's very good at picking his way through from deeper in the field and taking advantage of misfortunes. What he now wants to hope for, Chris, I'm sure, is that others in front have misfortunes, and that he can then do this. He can pick his way through back towards the front, and who knows, if he can do that, I wouldn't put it past him to get at least a top 5 for this second race.
Oh, that's definitely, he's got the absolute pace here today, hasn't he? So he could definitely do that. He's just got to, like you say, have a bit of luck on his side and wait for some of those accidents to happen in front of him this time. But yeah, he can certainly get up there and do that. He's got all the speed, but it looks like Christian Zaruta, as ever, doing very solid and stable. But it's good to see Arnell there getting on his podium. And like we say, we'll check back through the results and see whether that's is a completely unique thing, but I don't think it is. And then other drivers who we expect to see kind of at the top half of the field, people like Paul Fernhoff, and he's having to work hard just to be on the grid at the moment. So great to see all the new drivers, and those that had a bit of unlucky start of the race. Maybe they can now go and make this one their own.
Yeah, and of course you've got drivers like Tom McEwen and a couple others who are starting towards the back after their incident. So earlier on, so they've got some effort to get through the pack, but they've got another 15 minutes of racing ahead in order to make that happen. We'll see how the likes of Jensen Hassler, Steve Arnell, and even Andrew Parker, who we know he's been getting better and better and stronger with all the training he's had with Darren Burke, and he's up there in P4 again. Wasn't totally on pace, but we'll see if he can hold on to the position. So Zaruta then took victory in race 1. He's got the aim to make it a double, but some of his rivals are coming from deeper in the field. Can they stop him, or will he run away once again? We'll find out any second now, as race number 2 for round 1 of season 8 is underway. Decent start for everyone so far. Pretty level off the 9 rows of cars to head down towards turn 1. And Jensen Hassler with a great jump, looking around the outside into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time already. Zaruta under threats to come down the hill. Hassler in the light blue car is hassling Zaruta up the hill towards Drews. They go side by side on the run up the hill. Again, tentatively, so far, all seems okay, but I'm not going to let go just yet until we get the first lap out of the way. A little bit of scrapping and squabbling as normal. A couple of cars running wide onto the grass, exiting Drury's. Now the Graham Hill Bend, John Lang there making a move past Freddie Chilix for 7th. David Rowe runs wide. Where have we seen that before? And then up the hill to up the short straight towards Cooper through Surtees. They can sweep their way through up as they climb towards the top of the circuit again. A couple more cars running wide through there, and sideways, just like Richard Gallagher did. That was Andrew Parker heading sideways, just in exactly the same fashion. That was a carbon copy of what happened to Richard Gallagher, where he almost lost out. And David Rowe has been forced out onto the grass or onto the gravel, and he's losing time. So he's now dropped all the way back. That loss of momentum was instantaneous. What was as high as about 4th or 5th, he's down to 16th place at the end of lap 1. In fact, it's last now, from what was about 6th on the grid up to about 4th or 5th at the end of lap 1. Or midway through. Then with that mistake, he's down to last and 18th position. That's a disastrous first lap for David Rowe, as they're all over each other at Druids. It's all going to come together, and Freddie Chilix gets tapped by John Lang. It was 4 into 1 exit in Druids. That was never going to work. What did I say? I thought we were going to get to the first couple of laps unscathed. I should probably go and shut myself up now, because I forced to eat my own words with that one, Chris.
Yeah, they're not done yet either. They're still fighting over that same bit of tarmac. I think what happened with David Rowe is he got a track limits infringement from the kind of electronic race steward, and therefore he had to come off of that accelerator pedal, and you have to release the accelerator pedal for 5 seconds, which would explain why he suddenly lost all of those places. But like you say, it was 4 wide going around Druids, and that's never going to work, even the best intentions. I don't think they realised they're 4 wide, which is why we saw a bit of a sandwich situation, and the ones in the middle got a bit squeezed and bounced. But we got a bit of contact there. That's Max Haynes, I think. He's got contact in the middle of a sandwich, and the braking points just weren't on. So we're still seeing cars go left and right. There's definitely a beginning of the season feel, isn't there?
Yeah, there definitely is. But the interesting thing is that it's going to be tricky. Now, this is intriguing. We didn't see this in race 1, but we're definitely seeing it in race 2. Because Christian Zarita here coming under big pressure from Jensen Hassler up now through Surtees. So the race is definitely on. Christian Zarita not being allowed to run away here. And look at Steve Arnell. He's up in 3rd place. This is genuine pace here from Steve. Fantastic effort. In a nice way, I'm going to say is, I haven't seen him this quick before in terms of race pace, but he's keeping with the top 2. Dare I say, could it be even a possible favourite? It's 12 minutes to go, but he's setting himself up here to be someone who really could be in contention for a win here if something happens between these two. And of course, if he can get himself into the mix, that'd be excellent. But this is genuinely some of the best I've seen already in this first lap of race 2. The best I've seen Steve Arnell drive. And dare I say, they're going to go 3 abreast. He is going up the inside into Druids, sideways, and just about holds on to it. Again, I should probably shut up now, because again, that was me almost putting the curse of the commentator on, and Richard Gannon goes into 2nd place, but they are still battling over the lead. Round the outside at Graham Hill, Ben Jensen Hassler just about made it stick. He has made it stick. This is incredible stuff from Jensen Hassler. Holds on to the lead. That was all action in the last 1.3 miles. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, we saw Jensen. We had a sort of preview event of this a couple of weeks back, and Jensen was extremely quick then, and proving again that he's got all of the moves around Brands Hatch and knows how to do it. Christian is a wily old character, as I say, and he knows everything. So the fact that Jensen Hassler just put it round the outside, there's quite a few bragging rights there, but Christian's not done, and he should be using it again. He's done the switchback dive underneath. Can he make that stick into the middle? Jensen's going to have to give him a bit of room. They go side by side, but they don't make contact. That's going to lose a bit of momentum. We've got Richard Gallagher now into 3rd place. Christian didn't make that work, but you could see how he positioned his car so carefully in that switchback when Hassler didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. Yeah, and Hassler then holding on to the lead now as he's got in front, and now it's the hunted becomes the hunter now, because Zarita now trying to get himself all over the back and just Hassler to reclaim that lead. We should mention a couple of other drivers that have made their way up through here. Now, so Andy Parker's recovered from that small little mishap that he had earlier on to get himself into P5. There he is. And again, the man to watch out for keeps his cool whilst others lose there. James Peterson has worked his way into P6, and he's not that far away from the guys in front who are in that top 5 leading group, and he might well be bringing both Maskell, McEwen, Joyner and co with that. Ian Joyner's done pretty well. He started at the back of the grid and he's up to 9th place, so good effort from him so far as he's a little bit further back in the top 10. Into Baddeck Bend they go. They were side by side practically across the line between Hassler and Zarita, but actually back with them it's now roles reversed, because it's now Zarita up the inside past Hassler, and into the lead, back into the lead he goes. So Zarita then leads down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend. There's now a car's been off in the background. Who's that? That might be Tom McEwen, I think it is. Tom McEwen, who was battling away with the likes of Joyner and with Peter Zennis and Maskell. He's now going to be latching onto the top of the next group of cars. As Hassler then Gallagher's gone up to 3rd place at the expense of Arnell. So that's another place gained for Gallagher. Arnell holding on to fourth. That impressively still in fourth position after that slide earlier on. But now as they come back onto the pit straight again, we've now got some 9.5 minutes to go. So we've got a couple of battle packs forming here, Chris. Leading pair scrapping amongst themselves, and if they start to hold each other up, these three I'm pretty certain, Gallagher, Arnell and Parker, provided they don't take each other out or hold each other up too much, will surely be there to make it a quintet for bleed in no time at all.
Yeah, and we'll see the Jamie Peter-Dennis and Andrew Parker hook onto the back of this for sure, because these guys are not looking like they're going to stop battling anytime soon. So therefore, the pace of those two cars working with each other will catch up. We've still got 9 minutes of this race still to go, so there's plenty of time. Arnell's definitely winning the battle of, he's back in third place again, and he's fresh from Silverstone, where in the Sigmax group, I think he got a couple of fifth places in there, so he's race hardened already this season. As the simulator season gets underway, he's ready to go already. But yeah, he's back ahead of Gallagher, and I predict that this is all going to come back together before the end of the race.
Probably will, particularly with the fact that Hassler was all over the back of Tristan Zaruta, as again they look side by side. This reminds me of some of the Caterham races we've seen regularly in real life here, as it's a proper duel between these two at the front of the field, switchback stuff left and right. You can see their third, fourth and fifth, the momentum they took through the corner, how much they're closing in. Now Hassler was just trying to put Zaruta under pressure to force him to the inside line to take the tighter run through. Means he kills a little bit of speed as Arnell runs out wide, holding on to third place. Gallagher now looking down the outside line as we continue to watch these top five cars starting to come back together now. Exiting Graham Hill Bend and now down the short straight towards Surtees once more. And again, everything just tentatively at the moment, calming down just a little bit for the moment, but just one small move, one small mistake from somebody, and it'll start to kick off once again, because they'll all be all over each other and trying to make moves. Up through Clark Curve, back onto the Sir Jack Brabham straight, back in the slipstreams. Once again, Hassler, he's within that half a second perfectly as they come back down towards Paddock Hill Bend again. They turn in just about half distance now as the scrap is on for third, as Arnell holds off from Gallagher, but he gets a beautiful switch back on the exit. A brilliant dummy from Richard Gallagher. You think he'd done this before in real life, but he hasn't. He only drives this car. Drives a Caterham in real life, doesn't actually race them, but he probably should at this rate. And there was Andrew Parker just trying to squeeze through, and Steve Arnell was like, I'm in this battle. Back off, Andy. Back into fifth you go. You can have a new friend in Jamie Peter-Dennis to play with.
Absolutely textbook switchback that was, but Arnell is not done. He's not letting that position go, and you can go up the inside of Surtees. Never comfortable going side by side through here, but they're going to go and do it. Richard Gallagher's holding on, and they do make it through there, unbelievably. I've done that in real life, and it's extremely uncomfortable to be in that position, but Parker is not ready to give them the places either. He wants that final podium spot behind Christian Zaruta and Hassler, who also continue their battle. This has been absolutely race long. I don't think there's been a corner when they've not been side by side at some point.
I suspect that Gallagher Arnell was quite firmly clenched in there when he was trying to get through past at the right-hander at Clark Curve. Meanwhile, trying to squeeze up the inside at Druids and trying to make it stick and forcing his way through is going to be Jensen Hassler, and Zaruta tries to fight back on the inside. He will have the inside for Graham Hill Bend. They go side by side once more. They turn at the apex and they're still side by side. And for the second time, Hassler braves it out around the outside at Graham Hill Bend, puts his foot to the floor and gets himself just in front. So Hassler is not afraid to go around the outside at a corner like Graham Hill Bend. You don't typically pass around the outside there, but no one told Jensen Hassler that. He's done it twice in one race, which is absolutely superb. And there is still 5 3/4 minutes to go as these two are locked together in what looks like an 8-wheeled Caterham here as they come up through Clark Curve again. Back in that slipstream, nose to tail. They are starting to draw away just a little bit in their battles. Now we look at Jensen Hassler. You can't see where Christian Zaruta is in the mirrors, but he certainly can on board as he's looking forwards. And up the inside again goes Zaruta. Now, I'm not sure if that's a plan to try and get a good run through the corner. It looks like it is. And here comes Hassler again then, with a third time up the inside into Druids. Once more wheel to wheel. Zaruta looks to try and cover, takes a slightly deeper run into the turn. And this time Hassler, will he cut him off? No, he won't. But again, he's done this before. Will he go back round the outside? Because he is comfortable to do so. This time, no, he's going to switch back again, I think. What hopes Zaruta will run wide, which he just about does, but didn't get a fast enough exit to try and put himself alongside and stop Zaruta from covering the line. So I can see what Hassler's tactic here to try and force Zaruta to make a bit of a mistake to go offline and get the undercut. But I think at the same time, Chris, Christian's just getting a little bit wise to it.
Yeah, he should actually have chopped him off at that, like you said, at the exit of Druids. I think he had the distance to do it, and that would have stopped that comeback manoeuvre down at Graham Hill. These are all absolutely classic real-world racing manoeuvres and tactics that we're seeing. If you join us on I think it's the 9th of April, where we're going to do this for real with real Caterhams at the Real Brands Hatch Indy. So please, if you've got that weekend spare, come down and watch this racing. You won't believe what we do in real life, and it looks just like we're seeing tonight, hopefully with a few less issues, but the battle behind is equally as intense as it has been all race long. Arnell still in that third position, but Richard Gallagher looking for any kind of gap down the inside of Graham Hill, but nothing there. Andrew Parker here, and look who's joined the battle. Jamie Peter-Dennis has crossed that gap like we said he would, and he's there ready to get his revenge.
I wouldn't put it past him if he gets an opportunity to go from 6th to 3rd in one move if he gets the chance, but he needs these three in front to really trip up over each other. And at the rate they're going, it could be a possibility to come up through, once again, through McLaren and Clearways, back now through Clark Curve and onto the Jack Brabham Straight. It is now 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all together. The top two trying to draw away, no change in them between Zaruta and Hassler. Now they come back down the straight once again. Arnell in the sort of mosaic car with the orange front here, between Gallagher then with the red car with the yellow stripe. And as they go side by side again, this time I can just see in front, there's Hassler inside again, back into the lead. So he's got back through then. But I don't really want to take my eyes off this battle, either not for this, but also the battle for 3rd place, because these four are still that close together. And I think Jamie Peter-Dennis in 6th place, maybe, even though he has only got 3.5 minutes to go, not rushing into any move here. I think he's probably trying to keep to the back of these cars and thinking, well, if I try and make a move, it's not going to work. And that wasn't going to work for Christian Zaruta either, because they went side by side into Surtees, which you can do. But Hassler then tried to close the door. There was possibly, if there was contact, a little bit of wheel rubbing, which didn't quite work out in Zaruta's favour, and he had to back off a little bit. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, just under 3 minutes to go. I can't call who's going to win this, Chris, and I can't call who's going to finish 3rd.
No, I have absolutely no idea, and isn't that fantastic? Yeah, it's brilliant. Every single tactic in the book being brought out by both these drivers, and they're both executing amazingly. We haven't even seen one lock-up from them that I've noticed on stream yet. Christian Street's trying for that gap. There really wasn't a gap there, but he put it in. As I said it, there is a lock-up there from Hassler, but nevertheless still under control, ready to take the battle again to him down into Graham Hill Bend.
Impressive stuff. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. There's still time for about, I'd say, roughly, maybe at least 3 laps, maybe 4 if they're quick enough, but we'll have to wait and see if as they come back around to finish these laps, and they come back through up towards Surtees again. Now there's JP Dennis. He's looking for P5. He's up the inside of Andrew Parker into Surtees. It looked like almost Andrew let him have it there, because he's backing off a little bit because he's got some kind of a track limits penalty, or just because he simply just lost a bit of momentum or just lost power for some reason. But he's in P5. Now Jamie is a second behind these two, but he knows that if Arnell and Gallagher get into it, there's every chance he could get up there and possibly benefit them the most. Back towards Paddock Hill Bend. Back to the outside looks Hassler as Zaruta continues on. Just trying to break Zaruta at some point here, and just keeping an eye on that battle for 3rd place. Because you know that obviously if these two come together and they do fall foul, this becomes the battle for the leaders. Look up from Gallagher, side by side with Arnell. They're still will to win on the exit of the corner. And unlike the two in front, as they have done for several laps, Arnell decided he was going to drop back behind Gallagher this time. Gallagher and Posh get a little bit loose on the exit, runs over the curve and onto the grass, and now there goes Arnell back into 3rd place. And they both know, whether they don't, well, maybe subconsciously, that if they keep on scrapping, they know that Peter-Dennis will take full advantage of this. They're still going at it, switching around positions left and right, and still Arnell holds onto the place here. And there's Jamie in the white car with the pride colours behind. He's just sneaking up quietly to come up to the pit straight. And I think they're going to get possibly. They're going to get, what's the lap time here? 15. This will be the last lap of the race. So one more chance then for a switch to the lead, or a switch for 3rd, or even a switch for 5th place up to 3rd. As they come now out of Paddock Hill Bend up for what will be the last time. The clock will tick down. It'll tick down to 0 just as they get through Clark Curve, I think. Now these two again, once again going at it for 1st and for 3rd as well. Gallagher still side by side with Arnell. Down the hill once again. Grab another gear. Now back up the inside will look Arnell, but he thinks better of it, and JP Dennis is lurking. Top two are wide over the grass on the exit of Graham Hill Bend up towards Surtees for the final time. And now as they come back into the complex, if Hass is going to make this stick, he might have to be a classic Caterham photo finish. You may want to get the cameras out, guys, because this will be a very close one to the line. Who's going to get the better drive? Has to be able to put himself alongside, or will he have the draft up the pit straight? Zaruta has it. Hassler might pip into the line. Up towards the checker flag they'll come. Zaruta will try and defend. Hassler will try and pull out if he can. They're going to go side by side across the line, but Zeruto beats Hatter by about a tenth of a second. Third goes to Gallagher, fourth to Arnell, fifth to Peters Ennis, sixth to Andrew Parker. Rest of the pack close to your light, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Maskell, McEwing, David Rowe fights back to 9th after his disappointment earlier on. And then it's Ian Joyner 10th, Coomber 11th, and it's Lang and Haynes across the line. Skillercorn 14th, and just at the line there, Mike Hilton just beat Mitchell Costas to get P15 as well. I think it looked like possibly Costas didn't realise where the finish line was and actually exited just before he was starting to cross it, and he was backing off that much. He lost the place. So I think he actually lost the position there. In fact, he lost 2 spots going in the pit.
Could have been another penalty, and therefore he's been disqualified right at the last second. I think that's probably what's happened just as he crossed that line. So, wow, what a finish to that race. It was side by side for the lead, side by side for third and fourth, and what an epic battle all the way through. Some superb stuff tonight.
Yeah, and I think I can see in the background, they're already sticking it into the gravel and up into the tyres in celebration, if you want to call it that. But yeah, what a great second race that was, and what a way to curtail the evening. Brilliant stuff. Look at that, 0.71 of a second, 71 1,000th of a second between Christian Zeruto and Jensen Hassler in the end. Zeruto wins, Hassler in second place, then Gallagher third, Arnell fourth, and Jamie Peters Ennis, who had that misfortune in race 1, recovers really well to get fifth in race 2, and he was that close to possibly getting in the fight for the podium. Andrew Parker 6th, Ben Maskell 7th, then Tom McEwing, David Rowe, who again, what he could have done in that race after he had his slowdown penalty that dropped him to the back of the field, he recovers to 9th. Ian Joyner picks up the final top 10 spot, and a good recovery from him also after his race 1 troubles. Michael Coomber stays out of trouble himself to get 11th. John Lang is 12th. He fell back throughout the race after despite his high position in race 1. Max Haynes 13th, despite his spin up at Clark Curve. Chris Skillercorn 14th. Mike Hilton 15th, then troubles for Freddie Chiddicks and Paul Fernaf. And looks like we think as well possibly a disqualification for Mitchell Costas as well. Do you know what? I think there's might well be more people than we've ever had, I think, to possibly talk to, because there's so many stories up and down the grid here for all the battles we've had. Not just the guys who finished in the top 3 in both races, but I'm certain that we could easily talk to the guys like Andrew Parker and Jamie Peters and others, because we could probably spend the next however long speaking to them all, because there was so much action everywhere you looked, whether it was towards the front in the leading groups, in the mid pack, or even towards the rear at one point. Down towards the rear, cars going 3 wide, which is just as impressive as the guys up at the front going side by side and passing around the outside at Graham Hill Bender into paddock. So lots of action, and I think it's not an understatement to say that was a thrilling way to start season 8, and if that sets the tone for the rest of the season, sign me up, bring it on.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely some beginning of season nerves and some cajoling, but the actual action itself, especially in that second race for the lead and for the podium, it was absolutely superb. And like you say, lots and lots of different stories going on. I'm sure there'll be some wounds being licked, as well as some people quite lucky that the seas parted in front of them and whatever. But why don't we take a trot down the lane, and we'll start with Jamie Peters Ennis. A kind of mixed evening. I don't know if Jamie, have you got us in the commentary box?
I am. I'm just watching it back.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got quite a lot to look back on. What a stellar performance at the beginning. Firstly, qualifying, you must be pretty happy with that speed you showed.
Well, considering I had pole until about 7 minutes left, and then I was like, someone please just go faster, because I'll be honest, I don't have the pace to run up there. And yeah, it was just nuts. And then Mr. Rowe was at every point was trying to go through me. And yes, Skilly, bless him, he just went into the back of me. Just one of those things. So I've got no beef with that. So yeah. It's an epic
run at the beginning. We were saying on commentary that it really you did nothing wrong other than you did what you do at Brands Hatch, which is defend, and you did a great job at doing that. And like you say, they were all trying to come through you rather than around you.
Well, as you know, Cheese, I get very nervous with these. I'll be honest, I was physically shaking.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I was like, oh no, it's going to go wrong at some point. But no, to drop down to 14th, finish 9th, and then get 5th, was it in race 2? And I sneakily said to Stephen Rich, I was like, can one of you just take each other out?
They look like they might as well, didn't they, at some point? But no, a fantastic fight back. You deserve that result. In fact, you deserved a bit more out of tonight. So definitely looking good, though, for the season, and we'll look forward to seeing it in the next one.
Can we stay in these for the whole year, please?
There'll be other people that will be screaming not to, but I'm with you on that. Cheers, Jamie.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, fantastic by Jamie there. And let's... I think if we speak to Arnell, so Steve Arnell, obviously he got his podium in that first race. We'll find out from Steve, hopefully, if that was his first podium. But equally, he was a bit unlucky in that second race. So Steve, you got us in the commentary box?
Yes, hi Chris.
So we're trying to work out whether that was your first official broadcast podium or whether you've done that before in your long, illustrious history.
No, you are correct. I've got a few podiums before we started to stream properly, but yeah, it's my first actual live stream podium.
And what a podium to start with. I mean, obviously you had a bit of luck to start with that first race in that everyone seemed to want to be on the same point at the tarmac all at once. But in that second race, I mean, what an epic battle you had there with Richard Gallagher.
Yeah, I was just saying to Richard that it was so clean and so close. I don't think we could have been any closer to each other without contacting. But yeah, just mutual respect all the way around. It was fantastic.
And just off of your real life race weekend that you've just come back from, a couple of fifth places, I think I was right saying. So yeah, you must feel like the season's well underway now for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that sort of the real life racing sort of already got me in the mood for this. So yeah, I felt like I had reasonable pace straight away, which is great.
All right, on to the next one. We look forward to seeing you out there again.
Yeah, thanks, gents.
Yeah, and we'll grab the other person who was involved in that battle, Richard Gallagher. Have you got us in the commentary box?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Scott.
What a race that was in that second event. To firstly get back to the front there and after your grassy first race, but then to absolutely compete every single corner. And I'd say the battle in front of you was intense, but yours was 3 or 4 deep at some points.
It was so much fun. Race 1 was really unlucky. I got caught out. Jamie didn't really pick up the throttle where I was, and just the slightest nudge, and I was panicking and put it on the grass. So enjoyed the drive back though. It was nice fun. Race 2 was just so much fun.
The only thing more fun would be doing it in real life, Richard. I think we need to get you out there. The switchback you did down through paddock on one of those laps was absolutely textbook, so it must have felt pretty good.
You know where you are with Steve Arnell. He's a very safe pair of hands for half an hour, but it was, you put so much trust in the guy around you, and if it's like that in real life, then I'd love to have a crack.
Excellent. Well done, and we look forward to seeing it at the next one.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Alrighty, so let's get up to the podium. Let's get Jensen. Have you got us in the commentary box?
Evening.
Hey, so that is a pretty good set of results. It maybe wasn't looking like it after the first few corners of the race 1, but then from then on, absolutely solid.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I was happy. Qualifying was terrible. I was off the pace, but yeah. It worked out today. You
had absolutely all the racecraft you needed in race 2, though. You must be still coming down from that.
Yeah, I hope it was as much fun to watch as it was to actually do. Yeah, it was great fun. Yeah.
Nah, it was. And I was just commenting to Scott before that the fact that you weren't ever not side by side, and until the last couple of laps there was no lockups either. So it was absolutely brilliant battle of wits out there.
Yeah, he's crafty anyhow. Yeah.
Yeah,
same old result, slightly in front, yeah.
He's always there. I think it was 7100ths or something like that at the line, so get him next time for us.
I'll certainly try, yeah.
All right, cheers, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks.
I will just say quickly, I think we might have just found a new nickname for Christian, I think. Crafty Christian's Router. So. There
we go. Scott's just nicknamed you Christian, Crafty Christian Sharuta, and I think that sticks from now on. What a epic first race. Didn't even see you on stream really. You were disappearing off down the line, but absolutely made up for in that second race. I could see you using every single last bit of your track knowledge and wiliness, but you just by 7100s got it on the line. What a result.
Yeah, I had to use every trick in the repertoire for that one. Jensen was doing superbly. Much better than David, I might add.
He had to get that one in, didn't he?
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
David making mistakes left, right and centre and dropping back down the field. But he, normally where you would be having those fun and games with David, Jensen was an able stand-in and actually lasted longer than David decided to spend.
As I say, I think he did a much better job than David would have actually. So.
Excellent. So that is a fantastic start to the season 8 for you. Double win, so gives you that lead in the championship, and I guess it's onwards to the next one.
Yeah, we'll see how we do.
Excellent stuff. Well done, and we'll see you next one.
Cheers, guys.
Ooh, there we go, Scott. What a race!
Yeah, that was well, what a night! What a way to get things going, and what a way to hopefully set the tone for the rest of the season, because there were some great on-track battles, and hopefully it all sets the tone not just for the caterhamracer.com season, but the real-world racing season as well, because that's coming up in just a week's time or so when we kick off when the Caterham Motorsport calendar kicks off for real at this circuit in the next couple of rounds. We see the that's been a throwback. The virtual representation of the Cheesemobile. Good to see that back once again.
I thought I'd bring that onto stream. It's always nice to bring it out for every now and again, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's a bit of a nostalgic trip. I presume that's in the colours it was in back in Academy days, correct?
That is the actual Academy car. Yeah, I came second that year to Henry Heaton, who we'll see out on track for real in his Caterham 7 UK going for the championship next. It's on the 7th. I think it's on the 9th of April. It's basically not this coming weekend where the academies are actually out at Kerborough doing their sprint event. It's the weekend after that. We'll all be at Brands Hatch having a fantastic time, hopefully in the sun for real. And like I said earlier, I hope we get that. How we get to see it. Here is the Caterham, the official motorsport season. So there you go, 9th to 10th of April, Brands Hatch Indy is your first opportunity to see all the cars out there for real, and we would really like to see you on the banks. And next up, from the sim racer sort of point of view, so we'll have a couple of weeks, we'll watch what's that all happening all live, and then Simulator, we're back for the 10th of May. So we've got just over a month before we're back on stream again, but 10th of May, we'll be ready to rock with the next one, which is Snetterton 300, and then again 2 weeks after that we'll be ready to go doing Snetterton for real. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it's exciting times, whether it's virtual or real. It's not a bad time to be a Caterham racing fan. So, what a crazy, incredible first night we've had to kick things off for Season 8 of the caterhamracer.com season. Once again, real racing in a virtual Caterham world. And of course, before we sign off, there is we couldn't do it without the partners that we have to get on board. So as we sign off, we'd like to say also once again a big thank you to those who have been supporting us, because for the final time, the caterhamracer.com Season 8 Championship, for tonight at least, is supported by Just Add Lightness, first for Caterham LED lights and in-car communication. By Design and Display Structures, immerse yourself in worlds beyond with bespoke projection screens. By DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage. And by 1-to-1 on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker, and also with additional association support by Darren, Burke Performance Driver Coach, and FPZero Simulators. Thank you to all of our sponsors and supporters for them coming on board for Season 8. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for all of that as we continue to get Season 8 and a new season of Caterham Racing underway. Bye for now.
See you soon.